Hey, what is happening, guys? Just about to kick off here. So basically what I'm doing here is just, I was building this morning and I figured I'd just stream it / record it for a later viewing. Yeah, so without further ado, basically what this is a Marvel tier list. Let me just get rid of those, the latest follower and things like that, because that's a pain in the butt. And go away with those notifications. That's not it. That's not it. That's the one. Cool. Now you can actually see better. Yeah, so basically it's going to be going through, this is my personal views on them. This isn't clear cut. Some people might think that some characters are better than they are. Some people might think that my choice of a character is, I might be ranking them a bit too high. But yeah, I'll try to give a little explanation on why I think that they're in the position they're in. And yeah, we'll go from there. If you have any comments or anything like that, feel free to just shout it out. I'll address them as we go along. Yeah, let's kick into it. So starting off, this is the 2-point Black Widow. She's absolutely viable, right? She's a good 2-point option. She's very good on objectives. She has stealth. I don't want to say she's meta, because she doesn't feature heavily enough in rosters to, from the data we got from the latest TTS League. She doesn't feature heavily enough in rosters. So yeah, I don't think she's meta yet, but she could very quickly become meta if there's a few tactics cards coming her way. Agent Widow, this is the 3.1. So these aren't in any order. It's just alphabetical. It's how it uploaded. So Agent Widow, this is a 3.1. She's not good. She's not trash. There's only a couple characters that'll feature in the trash tier, or tier D, depends how you want to think of it, or tier S, 1, 2, 3, 4, tier 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever you want. This is just how I think of them in my terms, by the way. So God tier, meta, viable, not good, trash. So for me, anything on the trash list will never feature in my roster. Not good is so not garbage tier for Wolverine. He'll float somewhere in here, right? So yeah, most of our characters will feature between most of our characters should feature in viable, with a decent selection in meta. Only a couple up here, only a couple down here, and yeah. So if you're new to this kind of thing, I've basically labelled each one. Some people get upset when you put a label next to them, but it doesn't matter. It honestly doesn't matter. It's just in case you're trying to figure out what a C, what's the difference between a B and a C. I've just labelled it so you can figure it out. So yeah, Agent Widow, doesn't really have that great of attacks. Her rapid fire is the easiest rapid fire to get off because you don't need to roll anything for it. You just need to roll dice, that's it. So that's good. And she does combo quite well with a Doom's Prophecy, or you've got all these shenanigans, but I think one of them, I want to say it's Doom's Prophecy, is now on the restricted list, so her stocks definitely went down when that happened. If that wasn't unrestricted, I'd actually slot her up here in meta. Angela, absolutely meta. 5 point. She's really explosive, really powerful. She has a really cheap, big throw, size 4 throw. Yeah, I mean, that one's pretty self-explanatory. She's I want to say she's a medium base / large base. I always get them mixed up. The long mover, so she's the fastest character in the game. She's very good at objectives because you've got hide muscle, rainbow bridge, these things. You know, I might actually revisit her, but she could actually be in the god tier if you take into account the tactics cards that come with her. Because she's basically borderline uncatchable. Once she's grabbed those objectives, she's gone, and you can pretty much secure the win from there. Ant-Man. So I've basically just gone through and grabbed snippies of all their cards. That's the easiest way to do this. Ant-Man, he's viable in Criminal Syndicate. He's not good in Avengers. I haven't really seen him played in anything else. He might be okay in Wakanda or something like that because he's actually quite power efficient. Like, he doesn't use his power for much except for just attacks. So he might be good in Wakanda. But yeah, he'll just slot in viable. He's extremely good on like Gamma Shelters, Criminal Syndicate. You know, he can hit that third Gamma Shelter turn 1 like Angela, but just Angela does it better. Beast. My personal views on Beast is I hate him, but I know he goes inviable. I'll put that aside. Yeah, really tanky. He has Shuri's reroll ability for himself in defense. The only thing that lets him down, that stops him from being meta, I want to say, is his energy defense and only being at 2. So because of that, he'll only sit in viable. I think if he had 3 energy defense, he'd absolutely be a meta. He's medium base, same size as Angela, but a medium mover. So if he was, like I said, any tankier, he'd be sitting over here, right? But if energy defense looks at him, he just bleeds damage. So for that, he'll sit in the viable. Black Bolt. I'm a bit torn on the Inhumans right now. So they're my latest favourite faction. The last couple of factions I've just kind of been a bit on. But the Inhumans, I really like the look of them. I always like those aggressive style of lists. Black Bolt isn't as good as some of the other Inhumans, but you have to take him to get their leadership, and their leadership is really good. It's really powerful. It's basically an advanced R&D that's once per turn. So you can really just funnel power into a single character and get him charged up. His strike is one of the best in the games. Range 4, 5 dice energy with a pierce. He has a native reroll on attack and defense. I want to say he's going to be sitting in the meta. But that's mainly because it's like the new hotness. So I'm going to slot him up there. Time will tell once he comes out, but he'll definitely be meta. So if you're building your list, based off of like future squads are gonna they're gonna feature heavily, Black Bolt, you will see him heaps. I think Trash Tier is probably a bit too harsh. I'll just get rid of that. I'll just leave it at D. It's the worst. But I'm happy with these. I'll leave these. Black Dwarf. I'm just going to put him in. Not good. The other Black Order characters are just better. They do it all better. He's size 4, so when he finally does arrive, he can just get pinballed around by some characters, and he can wipe you. I mean, I've seen like Kingpins and stuff just wipe him, use him to smash into your own characters and just wipe him off the board. So I don't like Black Dwarf. I don't think he's that good. Black Panther. First one up here for God tier. Unbelievably tanky, right? Blanks counters defense for physical and energy. On his healthy side, he's a long mover. He's got an auto push on his attack. He can give himself rerolls for the whole turn for 2 power. He can throw himself, so he can kind of do some auto damage. Done in, A pistol, I know, mate. Why does my phone keep going? I'm just going to ignore that. Right there. Not good. Terrible. Don't use Bullseye. He seems cool on paper. He does auto damage, which is, there's not many characters that can do that automate damage off of their attacks, but it's one. It's just not. It's not there. Cap, viable, really strong. Once he's on his flip side, he is the the tankiest character in the game. Basically, I don't think there's anyone tankier than him off the top of my head. Blanks counters defense. He can vibranium shield up to 6 on his physical defense. He has bodyguard. Really viable. It's just that his healthy side is just not like him and Panther are in the same like basket. They're together, but like Panther does it on his healthy side, whereas Cap, you got to get him injured, which means now he can't contest objectives as well. You know, it's just Panther's a threat. You have to address him. Cap, you can ignore until he runs out of power, and then just leave it as that. His attacks don't give him enough power. Corvus Glaive, yeah, he's gonna come up here. He is really good. Yeah, awesome attacks. You can give him the reality gem. Reality gem is just so consistent, so strong. His big attack, you can get a free medium move. So he's a large base medium mover. Large base? Yeah, I want to say he's large base. I always get him and medium bases mixed up. So he's a medium move for free off that attack. Has a flurry. Standard attack has a pierce. He can pay to make blanks count as success. Really good. Really strong. Crossbones. No bueno. Not good. His attacks are cool and all. His uppercut to add dice is too expensive for what it is. I don't think it's that good. He's kind of like, I was going to put niche here and then just put not good at the bottom, but niche is the same as not good to me. He serves a purpose in a really specific role in that he's a 3-point criminal syndicate affiliated character that is pretty tanky, but he doesn't do anything else. Crystal, I'm going to put her in viable. We haven't actually done anything with her yet. She hasn't been released. She's only just been added to the mod, so I'm just going to go middle ground for her. She's kind of interesting with her attacks. I like the fact that she has this bubble around her where you can't remove certain conditions. And for that, that's interesting. And you could see her going into like a spider foes, you know, where you can just hold incinerates on whole teams. But yeah, I think I need to see her in action. Cyclops, sorry mate, no bueno. It's too awkward. His powers cost weird numbers. Like 3 for the move means that your initial strike has to get, a couple of damage through to actually get the move off of, which means then you can't use his big attack. Because 3's a lot for a superpower, right? Like you need a superpower that costs 3 to really do some stuff. He's got a hit and run, which is nice, but the hit and run is never as good as a charge. I just find, like, tell me what you think out there in the Atlanta chat. I find Cyclops, I really want him to be good, but he is so awkward to play. His leadership is meh. That's why he's sitting in the not good. His attacks are good. Like, his attacks are decent, but he's just something about him. He's just playing something and it's just something's not right, and that's Cyclops for me. So he's sitting in not good. Daredevil, he is absolutely meta, right? In Web Warriors, really good substitute for Venom. I actually think he's probably a better substitute for Venom. Really tanky. He's like another Black Panther, just with slightly less defense dice when it comes to physical. He's got a counter attack, which we've seen in some recent streams can absolutely pop off out of nowhere. Yeah, he's strong. I think a lot of people slept on him to start with. They were kind of confused as to where he sits, but no, he's really powerful. I mean, Raptor Nest, you're a Web Warrior player, or at least you verse a Web Warrior player on a regular basis. You think that's pretty accurate for Daredevil there? Yeah, niche is what you were thinking when it comes to C. Yeah, I agree, but like the conversation I had earlier with some of the other guys is just niche is basically not good. Like, they are not good except in this one situation. So I'm just going to keep them all lumped in together. And, not good can very quickly become viable or meta, depending what gets added to it. But, yeah, I don't know. Doc Ock, same thing. He's niche, right? He fills a purpose. and that's in Spider Foes. They've got a really nice tactic card that goes with him. And he used to be in the Wakanda Wave. If Wakanda Wave still used Doc Ock, he'd be meta. But the game's moved past him. He's got like one of the most expensive throws in the game, and he has like no good power generation. So not good. He's not quite as bad as that, but as Bullseye, but just not good. Why'd you put Black Bolt in tier A? 1, native reroll for free, both attack and defense. His standard strike, range 4, 5 dice, pierce, energy. That's really, really, really good. And his leadership is spectacular. It allows massive turn 1 plays. You could funnel power into a single character. He's not as good as some of the other 5 threats out there, but he's definitely meta. Doctor Strange. I don't know about him. So he's another one. Like, he's awkward to me. I struggle with him. I want to say he's meta. Sorry. Phone just started going insane. I want to say he's meta, but not sure. He's up here. He's in these. He's in between these two. He's always viable. He'll always be viable. But I mean, until pentagrams goes away, he's up here. Once the pentagram plays disappear, he goes back to viable. Until pentagrams goes away, which is a tactic card that comes with him, he sits there. Drax. Now that we have Gwen and Miles Morales in Wakanda Wave, Drax sits down here. Really short range attacks. I don't think he's got anything that goes past range 2. He's very tanky, I'll give him that. If he was an affiliated character in a different roster that wasn't Guardians of the Galaxy, he might actually slot up to viable. But while Guardians are still just not that great, I think for me personally, he sits in not good. I just really struggle to get the most out of him. Ebony Moore, probably the worst of the 5. I mean, I can't think of any worse 5 threat characters. Right? He's the poor man's MODOK. MODOK does everything that Ebony Moore does better. He's got some good throws. I'll give him that. Like a really, really, really nice throws. So for that, he potentially could be viable. I mean, I'll leave that. Like, what do you guys think about Ebony Moore? I'll leave it up to you guys. You guys are knowledgeable enough at this point. For me, not good. I'm happy to be sold on viable. Definitely not going to be meta. Definitely not God tier. And he's definitely not tier D. He's definitely not in the bin. Enchantress, God tier. She is unbelievable. Her up until the point of Enchantress coming out, and who was the other 4 threat character that came out recent? And Medusa, the top 4-pointers. You know, Black Panther, Vision, Kingpin. Right, they are the best 4-pointers in the game. When these came out, when Enchantress and Medusa came out, it's now, I think actually some of them have been pipped off the top. She's probably. Oh, okay, that makes sense. Raptor Nest. When you think about it with the tactic cards, yeah, okay. He's one step above Bullseye. It literally is one step above Bullseye right now. Who was I talking about? Enchantress, God tier. Everybody knows why. Steal objectives. Don't have to worry about rolling damage. Just pay power, get objectives, right? There's no limit on it. The only thing that limits it is if the objective says you can't hold more than 1. So if somebody's holding 2 cubes, steal both, right? And run away. It's not an action. She's got a beam attack like MODOK, like Vision. Yeah, I know, pistol. Should put him in the bin, mate. That's what I should do. Yeah, Enchantress, for obvious reasons, everybody knows she sits in God tier. Gamora, if she was 3 threat, she'd be viable. If she was 3 threat, absolutely, I'd sit her in the viable. But I always hate having to pay 4 for her. Yeah, exactly, Raptor Nest. So 100% Enchantress is God tier. She should be hitting Okoye and Valkyrie numbers. If she isn't yet, I'd be surprised. Probably from next roster change onwards, I expect to see that happening. Gamora, for me, not good. Sits in C. Like I said, if she was 4 threat, man. 3 threat, man. She would be really, really strong. But I hate having to pay 4 for her because she's contending with characters like those 5 I just named before. Panther, Vision, Medusa, Enchantress, like Black Panther. She just doesn't compete on that level. Ghost Rider. He's an awkward one, right? So he sits for me between viable and not good. I mean, maybe I need to think. Next time I do this tier list, I'll switch not good to down here and make something between viable and not good, because there's a couple of characters that kind of fit that role, which originally I had that, right? Originally it was niche, not good. She gets absolutely dunked on by throws of any form, and while attacks is great, if somebody can pay, she's going to fold. Are you talking about Enchantress? Yeah, she gets smoked by throws. She only has 2 defense. This is back on Enchantress, guys. But if you are playing a hardcore objective style list where you are focused on just pushing characters around, power starving them so they don't really get to do all this dunking on, and you run away with her, so you don't actually play the game, right? You steal and run. She sits in God tier. It's the Enchantress players that steal and stand still and start trying to duke it out that get smashed. So for that reason, I'm going to sit Gamora down there. So Ghost Rider, he's going to also sit down here. Well, this not good list is starting to fill out a bit, isn't it? It's because it's so general, right? Not good. Just anything can change, right? And they'll be good. Somebody will figure out a list with Ghost Rider that involves he gets a zillion power and he can utilize his tactic card that brings him back to life, with a bunch of cheap 2-pointers. Somebody will figure that out. It's just not me. So for that, he just doesn't sit well for me. It's kind of awkward. He's power starved. He needs to have bodyguards around him to make his abilities work, which means you've got to take characters that generally don't have good attacks and only have good defense, like defensive abilities, like Okoye. Okoye's got a good attack, but Cap's attacks aren't that great. He has the bodyguard. Ghost Rider could be cool next to She-Hulk because she gets heaps of power. That'd be an interesting combo, I think, especially since people want to wail on She-Hulk to get rid of her, so you can really punish him for rolling those crits. But for that, until that happens, he sits in not good. Ghost Spider. So she's like here, right? She's absolutely meta. I don't want to say she's God tier because she doesn't have like blanks counters success or anything along those lines that are really, really strong. I think tier C is 1 synergy or tactic card from being viable. Yeah, absolutely. Like, look at, this is the perfect example. Agent Widow. You throw those 2 tactics cards at her, Doom's Prophecy, and all you've got. She can daze 5 characters, right? But with Doom's Prophecy being on the restricted list, it's just the other restricted cards are easier and better to play than playing that card. So for that, she slots down. But if you do come up against somebody who's playing that, she, in your eyes, could be sitting up here, right? Because she just dazed 5 characters for the cost of just dazing herself and you field dressing her or whatever, right? Ghost Spider. Lifesaver, amazing. She has the web pool or whatever it is where all the spiders have them, the spider men / women. Awesome for objective control, awesome for saving characters. She's a long mover. She has decent attacks. She has a throw on one of her attacks. Super powerful. She'd be God tier if she had like martial artist or something like that where she could count blanks as defense. She'd absolutely be up here. Green Goblin. His leadership is awesome. Super aggressive. Helps push through heaps of damage. Yeah, his leadership and his ability to dish out incinerates, thumbs up. If he had a 5 dice strike, super, super meta or viable. But because of his 4 dice strike, I'm actually going to put him in viable because there's a lot of those 9-point Thanos that are sitting in with Spider Foes. And that's, they go like Green Goblin, Taskmaster, Venom, 9 threat Thanos. And for that, he potentially, until that goes away, I'm going to see him in viable because that is scary. When you see that Thanos across from you, he's probably going to start one-shotting characters. Sorry to backtrack again, but you'll indulge me. What are your thoughts on Ant-Man? Ant-Man is viable, right? In Criminal Syndicate. Excellent on Gammas. He can hit that final Gamma shelter turn 1. Not as good as Angela, but he's 3 threat. I want to say he's 3 threat from memory. So for that reason, in Criminal Syndicate, Ant-Man, excellent, right? If your opponent isn't ready for it and they don't load up their home Gamma, you can win in 2 turns on Gamma Shelter. He's got poison and I want to say stun on his beam attack. So really strong. Yeah, so that's my thoughts on Ant-Man. Basically just in a specific roster, super powerful. Everything else, he's just sitting there not good for me. Yeah, I feel Green Goblin had a drop-off tax on him before he was banned. I agree, 100%. And it's really sad because they basically just brought back drop-off for She-Hulk, which is concerning to me because they banned that card and then just brought it back. So maybe they're that far in front for their playtesting that that's just how it rolled. But I think that it'd be cool to see Green Goblin get a tactic card like that. That's the same thing. May drop off a friendly spider foe. Like, it'd be really cool to see that on Green Goblin. But until that time, and while Thanos is propping him up on his shoulders, he'll sit in viable for me. Groot. See, not good, right? For me, Groot almost sits down here. But because of Deadly Duo, he goes there. Deadly Duo brings his stocks up massively. And the cool things that him and Rocket can do together, like they can basically make themselves immune to Shuri pushes, if you set them up correctly. Things like that, really, really, really strong. But not that crazy, right? These guys do everything that these guys do, but just better. Hawkeye, absolutely viable. Really, really, really great attack. He's only got 1 attack, but it's 5 dice, which for me, if you want to sit in this viable range, 5 dice strike minimum. Like I say strike is my generic term for your power builder attack. It has to be 5 dice minimum to even contest on these top 3. For me to even consider putting you into this top 3 for me. And Hawkeye ticks that box, right? And he can dish out a multitude of conditions that are really, really annoying. Dish out stun, shock, slow, and bleed. 4 really powerful conditions, and you can pick which one you want based on who you've rolled the wild against. So, super powerful. He has a range 3 teleport. Outstanding. He has like a counterattack-esque type thing. I think if you're outside of a certain range, he can hit you with it, which is kind of cool. So you can daze people mid-activation. So for that, viable. Hela, viable. She's a 4-threat mystic attacker. On that alone, she goes into viable. She's 4/4 for her defense. So for that, she absolutely will sit in the viable category. Very tanky. The captured souls shenanigans she can pull where she can bring herself back to life. Really cool. Low health pool on the flip side. If that was a little bit higher on the flip side, she'd absolutely be meta. And of course her mystic attack, I think it costs 2 power, so generally you're getting once per turn. I really wish she had more superpowers. It'd be kind of cool to see, something along those lines for her. I feel like she is weak on the superpower department. Although her superpowers are very strong, captured souls, coming back to life, very strong. She doesn't do the things that these other characters can do, like throwing and repositioning other characters with advances and all of these shenanigans, right? She doesn't do those. So for that, I don't think she'll ever get out of this category B unless something changes. Hulk. Yeah, agreed, Raptor. Best mystic attacker that's not MODOK that you can spam, right? When we say mystic attacker, we're talking about spam mystic attack. We're not talking about Doctor Strange, nuking somebody into the ground with his big attack, or giving them an activated tick, because that's not spammable. We're talking about something that can potentially, like, she might be cool in humans. You feed her the power so she can double mystic every turn. That could be cool. But yeah, until something changes for her or whatever, viable for me. Hulk. Hulk is absolutely meta right now because of this combo. The Pentagrams Hulk combo is brutal. The fact that you can capture 3 objectives in a turn with him on certain extracts is, if you're not ready for it and you lose priority and you don't understand how this combo works, you can basically lose turn 1. So while this Pentagrams Doctor Strange Hulk combo exists, that's meta. I haven't versed it yet, but I understand, and I've looked at it on the table multiple times, and I understand fully how this combo works, and it terrifies me. And then you can also secure things like, the Strange Pentagrams combo can also enable to them to secure the herb turn 1 and things like that, which are typically considered slow objectives, but for them, it's, win in 3 turns. So for that, meta. Iron Man, boom, trash. No good. No bueno. I don't know why they didn't give him his Unibeam on the healthy side, right? Why would his suit getting more damaged get better? Makes no sense. The Invincible Iron Man, really nice, okay? Probably been a bit harsh on him here. He could probably sit up here in the not good bracket with the rest of them. But as a 3-threat character, he needs to do more. He doesn't do enough. His tactic card for the what is it? The one where he can do the thing off cap shield is like cool, but you're paying 7 threat for that. And it's just not that cool. Hulk in Defenders is one of the best multiple extract holders. Absolutely, because then you got especially if it's like cubes or something. So your Hulk's now getting 6 power a turn. Strange can heal him up, so you're not going to be in massive threat of losing him very quickly. You've got tactics cards to keep him around. Basically, without a character like Enchantress or Miles Morales, you're never getting those objectives back. And for that, you can just lose. Back on Iron Man, yeah, no bueno, no good. Killmonger, meta. Anyone for me that features a strike that is has Pierce on it, or Flurry, or Sap Power, can almost sit in meta immediately, right? Because of those things, they're going to have massive power generation for themselves. Killmonger can also give himself rerolls. He can give himself extra attacks. He can give himself a charge. He can count shields as success instead of hits in the weird choices that you can make with that, whether you want to do damage or don't want to do damage. Usurp the Throne that goes with him. Gaining victory points outside of the cleanup phase, which means you can win mid-turn and stop your opponent from even having a chance at winning the game. Okay, Mazane, that makes some sense. Sure. Fluff-wise, like thematic-wise, I'll buy it. Killmonger, he sits in Wakanda, he gets access to Wakanda forever. Meta. Not god tier like Panther, but absolutely meta. Kingpin. Ooh. I don't know where to sit him, to be honest. You tell me, you guys, I'll wait. I'll talk about him for 30 seconds. You guys chime in on where you think he should be sitting, because Kingpin for me, top 5 4-pointers, and there's a lot of 4-pointers. Doesn't take damage from character throws. He can take -1 damage for 1 power, and there's no minimum on that, so he can potentially take 0 damage from things. 4 physical defense, 3 power for his big attack with an auto throw, auto stagger. That's crazy. He can hand out a stun off his headbutts. I think he can do something. One of them hands out a stun. Pretty sure it's the headbutt. He has a beam attack for the off chance that you're going to use it. I want to say he's meta, and I agree with you, Raptor Nest. I don't think he's God tier. He's not quite... He's missing one or two of like the pieces that he needs to be sitting up there. But I mean, he's really good. Again, if you can make something to sit in between these two, Kingpin would sit there. Lockjaw, God tier. He's broken. He's above God tier. He's honestly the most broken thing I've seen released in the last 6 months that I can think of. Yeah, you think the S move keeps away from S tier? Agreed. I agree, man. Lockjaw, so broken. God tier. The teleport, he can do it twice in a turn on the first turn. So if you're like me and you like playing aggressive lists, I can open the turn by having Magneto and Black Bolt or Medusa and Black Bolt teleport range 3 forward. And yeah, I know Lockjaw then doesn't get to move, but so what? I've now got two of my most powerful attacking characters essentially sitting on the middle gamma shelter, and if you move to contest it, I'll burn your character into the ground, right? So just, yeah, I agree. It's undercosted, and it should be once per round, or once per turn, not once per character. So it's undercosted. It doesn't have a size on it. That this is all, the teleport is what makes Lockjaw God tier. Okay, if you haven't looked at it, go have a look at it. It's undercosted at 2 power because you can get 4 power a turn. It doesn't have a size on it, so you can launch MODOK forward, for example, which is what most guys will do. So it can teleport range size 4, size 5, whatever. If it doesn't exist, he can teleport it. And it's once per character, which is just ludicrous. Like, I don't know what they were thinking there to have that just teleport multiple people forward. I get thematically that he can do that, but balance-wise, it's just wrong. So for that, Lockjaw, and don't get me wrong, I'm all in on Inhumans. I'll be using and abusing Lockjaw because I love the idea of, 17 threat, Black Bolt, Medusa, Lockjaw, MODOK, and I love the idea that just turn 1 is my Lockjaw sending Black Bolt and MODOK up to the middle objective so that you now definitely can't come near it because I've got a Pierce and a Mystic attack sitting up there. And then, just for fun, I'll feed Black Bolt's power into Medusa and then use her teleport to launch her just a bit further forward so that she can get to the middle objective of one move and still get the attack. And she has a flurry, so potentially it's 2 attacks. Loki, meta. Really strong. I love his superpower attacks that he puts out. Love it. Really, really, really powerful. Can really offset some of the more refined lists, like your lists that are like, I will do this. Like the old Wakanda wave, right, was just a playbook. On turn 1, I will do these 5 things. On turn 2, I'll do these 5 things. Loki upsets that because he offsets the mass, and I like that. His I'm a god, the fact that you can see the dice roll first before choosing to do it, awesome. Trickster, unbelievable. When he gets when he gets flipped, the fact that he stops crits being rolled in around him, it just gets worse and worse and worse for your opponent. His strike, decent. His big attack is a bit meh, but it is Mystic, so that puts his stocks up. Medium mover, that's a tick. He's tops. Yeah, there is a high learning curve on him though. You got to know when to Trickster and when to I'm a god, based on what your opponent is actually hitting you with. Magneto for me, if he was a medium mover, he'd be god tier. He's like Kingpin for me. He sits here. His small move means that Shuri can use and abuse him. And for that, he'll be meta. But the fact that he can do multiple throws in a turn, he is super power efficient, and his leadership bonus is just spectacular. Like giving out power for pieces of terrain that's blown up. Awesome, right? And you can do some serious plays with it. Awesome attack. You can push in any direction. So if someone's at range 3, you can push them into range 2. Super, 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 super powerful. For that, he'll sit up here. 6 Mystic Defense. He's the best Mystic Defense in the game. You can use that Mystic Defense for 2 power. on his dodge, physical defense, and energy defense, and then he can't be interacted with the throw. Really, really, really strong, but not S tier because he only moves short, so no bueno. Yeah, so you're on board with me, Raptor Nest. Captain Marvel, sorry, not good. Let me just see if I can adjust this a little bit. I might zoom it out a little bit so you can kind of see past the camera. She's just not good, right? The binary is too expensive. I do like that it lasts through until the next round, until the start of her next turn. So you can do like a early activation, late activation. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it's not on the list of special conditions. So when she's dazed, the binary stays for whatever reason. So if she gets dazed, the binary form will stay there for whatever shenanigans that means. So that's kind of cool. Her power gaining attack that just has rerolls for however many dice you want. I mean, that's nice, but I mean, Mags does the same thing. There's other characters that do the same thing. She just doesn't have all the tick boxes ticked for me, right? She just doesn't have that good of... She's got an okay throw, but her defense is a bit meh without the binary form. Her attacks are meh without the binary form. And the binary form costs too much at 5. Just even with Avengers at 4, she might be cool to see in A-Force, where you just feed her power, or maybe in Inhumans, feeding power to her through the leadership ability, but I don't think so. Medusa. I'm actually going to put her up here. She has the best power builder in the game. 5 dice, range 3, with a flurry. Because of the timing on it, you can flurry into the same character, and it also pushes in any direction. So now you've flurried, you've got 2 instances of the push that needs to happen, potentially, and you can double push somebody small and then hit somebody else and do the same thing. She has a really great throw. Her area attack is surprisingly good with the reroll, and you can reposition whoever you've hit to within 1 of her. So if you're on the side of an objective, you can pull whole teams off of objectives, which could be clutch, against certain teams like Criminal Syndicate when they're overloading an objective. Leave her for a late activation, keep feeding power into her if she's in A-Force or whatever. Pull a whole team off an objective. Super cool. Medium mover. She has a teleport. Tier A. Tier S, sorry. Easy choice there. She has 3/3/3 for defense as well, by the way, and she has living ribbons, or whatever they call it for her, which is the same as Angela, so you cannot modify your attacks against her. So her reroll now becomes a pseudo 4 defense. So yeah, tier S. Easy choice. Miles Morales, tier A. Spectacular in Web Warriors, obviously because he's the leader. Spectacular in Wakanda. 2 power, make somebody drop all their objective tokens. Excellent. Yeah, so she sits between S and A. This is back on Medusa. But she's heavily... If you had to put a line between it along here, she'd be more on the God tier side. Because of her attack, her standard strike attack. If it didn't have the push or it didn't have the flurry, she'd be meta. But it has both. And that just makes it crazy, right? When she attacks into things like Magneto and double pushes him away, at range 3, so now you're pushing him potentially out to that range 5 area, and it's any direction, so you can push him around terrain. Oh, man. You want to see somebody who's really sad? You do that to MODOK, or you can't do it to MODOK because you can't flurry him, but you do that to Magneto, you do it to Hulk, you push him around and away from stuff. It's hilarious. Yeah, Miles, really great, has a teleport. He's got rerolls in defense for physical and energy, I want to say, with his spider sense, which is the same as Peter Parker. Yeah, he's great. He's really strong. He'll always be meta. just because of that list, because of the list of things that he can do, he'll always be meta. Web Warriors always will be meta because of their reroll, unless there's just someone that ends up doing it better, then they'll go down into viable. So good. MODOK, we all know. S. I don't really need to say much about that one. He's the best character in the game. It's not even close. He just does it all, right? Advances, rerolls, changes all your wilds to blanks, which also has the other effect of stopping special things happening like flurry. 10 health on the flip side. You know, he's got a massive amount of power generation through his mystic attack, which he can spam, and it's range 4. He just does it all. And dodge. That's strong. So he'll always be meta Raptor. Miles, and sadly for Peter Parker, he'll be just viable. Miles just does everything Peter Parker does better. Mystique, meta. Solely because of, one, you can't use reactive tactic cards or superpowers against her. So use MODOK. He can't use his rerolls in defense. Really strong to be able to deny that, especially if you're like Morgan's game the other night where you're rolling hot with her. She can really just smash characters. The not being able to use tactics cards against her is really good in reactive when it's her turn, because she can blow up buildings, which means you can potentially try to stop that with a tactic card or, you know, whatever. Lockjaw can't use his tactic card to save someone from being KO'd, I believe, would be the interaction there, which is strong. That's a plus for Brotherhood, because she's in their affiliation. But her tactic card Deception is one of the most annoying things to play against out there. It's just so irritating. Luckily, Lockjaw gets around that because he teleports 2 characters, so whatever, you don't care about it. But everyone else, you have to really work on your Deception. Counterplay, bring characters up slowly, whereas they don't have to do it. That being said, Deception does have a downside. If you counterplay it and work around it, they're basically down a tactic card, that's big favor for your opponent. If they're like a big plus for your opponent, if they can manage to play around it, it means that you've got 5 tactic cards versus their 4, right? It's always going to be good. Nebula. Yeah, mate. You're preaching to the choir here. When I get Deception, it just makes me want to quit the game. I hate it. Because it always Deceptions one of your long movers or whatever. They end up just getting pounded on, and then they get pounded on again because they've already activated. So they don't flip priority. It's just, ugh. Nebula. She's in between these two. She's not good. She's 2-threat. Her rerolls bring her into the not good category. If it wasn't for that, she'd be in trash. She can't contest. She can't do anything with objectives. So you're already one character down. She can hit quite hard, and she can be quite tanky. But, yeah, I don't see it. I don't see her ever being out of this. Because of the objective thing, I don't see her ever being out of this. Koye, yeah, she's up here for a 2-threat. For a 2-threat, she's not a 2-threat. She's a 3-threat character. Excellent defense. Has a bodyguard. Can self-generate the bodyguard every turn because of auto power gain, unlike Captain America, who doesn't have auto power gain. So because of that, for me, personally, this is my tier list, she's in God tier. Okoye will feature in every single 10-man roster I make. No matter what. Because as a 2-threat character, she's not comparable to the rest of them. She's just a step ahead of them all. Proxima will only sit in viable for me. She's good, but Corvus is what makes that combo insane. So for that, she's just viable. She's a good 3-threat. She's pretty tanky. She's got some good stuff. She's a long mover, but she's definitely not meta. Black Order are not meta. They have very good characters, but 2 of their characters feature down here as well. So, yeah, she just sits there. Punisher, sadly, not good. He just doesn't do what I want him to do. I thought it'd be really cool if he could do just like a slightly more damage. You know, maybe he would be the first 5 dice rapid fire. You know, but he has no other attack. That'd be kind of cool. But they didn't go down that path, probably for balancing issues, because that would be extremely strong. Mystique does everything Punisher does better. And because of that, Mystique takes a meta, he takes a not good. Red Skull, he's absolutely viable. Spectacular leadership. Pairs insanely well with MODOK. You know, with his cosmic invigoration, all you've got plays, you know, it's insane, right? You can get MODOK to activate 3 times in a turn. If anything's left after that, I don't know. I mean, that's got to be the tankiest character in the game. Maybe if they're really lucky, there'd be a Magneto left at the end of that, but not much else. Yeah, super viable. I like his Hail Hydra where he can palm people onto attacking other people, so you can get some really tanky guys next to him. Charge the cube, gain 3 power, amazing at the cost of potentially taking damage, sure. Yeah, his teleport, awesome. But his attacks are kind of meh. His big attack is great, and you can just rain down bombs with that because it's an energy attack. But the other attacks these guys just do it better. Rocket, he will sit here with Groot. He'll sit there just because of his low health pool. If he had 4 health, he'd be inviable. I'm pretty convinced about that. The way he works, if he was 4 health both sides, 100% viable. It's really cool. But 3 health, he can just get killed at whim. Like any size 2 terrain, the most common terrain in the game, can one-shot him. For that, not good. Ronan, not good. Even with people have told me with a power gem, he can be strong. And I believe it because that's 1 Kree Justice a turn, and that's terrifying. But he's the same as Thor, right? Can be the Angel of Death, right? Just if you're rolling hot, just insane. But if you're rolling bad, there's a big feels bad there, and I don't see him as viable. Thor at least will sit in viable because of the other things he has going for him, but not him. Sabertooth, my views on him. I was going to put him in not good. I basically looked at these before I started and just gave myself a mental idea of where I wanted to sit everything. I was going to sit him in not good. I'm actually going to sit him in viable because he's a long mover and because he has like an Odin's Blessing style tactic card that can go with him. And he's pretty aggressive, and I think he has a Pierce on his standard attack as well, which basically auto puts him in these 3. So yeah, I'll just sit him on viable. There's not really much else I can say about him. She-Hulk, she's meta. Super powerful leadership ability. Excellent superpowers. You know, she's an excellent MODOK killer. It's very hard for MODOK to go and remove her on the table from 1 turn. So she's going to be hanging around. She can throw insane amounts of dice. She has a bodyguard. She can small advance for free if you attack her, so you can walk her in and get her ready for a late activation. Be keen to see like her Strange, like her in Defenders with Strange, you know, just so you can keep healing her up because she doesn't have any damage shenanigans like Hulk does. But yeah, she's great. Shuri. I'm actually don't know where to put her here. She's fallen off, I think, because she's just annoying to play. But I'm actually torn because she is absolutely insane. Range 5 push, auto power, roll a skull, get more power, then use that power to make your friends re-roll their attack and defense. Just insane. I'm actually going to sit her up here. I might be convinced to put her in meta, but for me, she's like Medusa. She's sitting in between these 2, and she's more on the S tier side. Peter Parker, viable. He's in Web Warriors. He has rerolls in defense. He has Web Pull, which definitely brings his stocks up, and he's a long mover with Wall Crawler, which is super powerful, but I don't think he'll ever be more than viable. He's definitely not in the not good category, because he's definitely better than all these characters. But yeah, he just, I don't know, I don't think his attacks are that great. I mean, he can hit hard, but I don't know. He's like that, that random character that every now and again will just roll dice and roll 5 crits, and you'll be like, wow, Peter Parker's amazing, but 5 crits is better. It's just what's making him good. Yeah, he's just good in the control style list. But just Miles does everything Peter Parker does, basically, I think, to my knowledge, but better, and he has an auto objective drop, so he'll sit up there. Star-Lord, not good. I really wish that he had more superpowers. Like, I really, 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 I really want him to be good. But because of his just complete lack thereof as superpowers and his bad leadership ability, which is discarding tactic cards, which is, insane. He just sits in the not good category. He's borderline down here. Parker at 4 is steep for a control character. Yeah, I agree. You look at a control character in the same category at 4 threat is Panther, who is doing the pushes, is long moving, is blanks of defense, like insanity, right? Compared to Parker. Parker just B is exactly where he needs to sit. Storm, for me, her leadership brings her into viable, and that's it. I don't like her attacks. I often find Storm players just end up basically not attacking with her. Just her attacks just aren't good. And for that, I don't think she'll ever be more than viable. Her leadership is nasty, though. The teleport instantly gets you into B, almost, as long as you can abuse it in some way. So for her, she sits up there. I don't think she'll ever be more than here because of the existence of Lockjaw now. But, yeah, solid B tier. She's a Wakandan as well, so she actually technically she's a Wakanda Forever target, so that also brings her stocks up. But I don't think she goes more than that. Taskmaster, he's like here, sitting in between these two. He's absolutely viable, but his lack of throws annoys me. Or just a lack of a reposition ability. Anything, a push, anything, right, would put him into meta. He's got a great skill set. He's got a really cheap big attack, which can hit hard on certain targets. It's great, but I don't think he's more than viable. It's kind of cool that he is rogue. That potentially brings him into that meta slot because he can just go into anyone's 10-man roster and be good. But with the way how big the affiliations are now, I don't think rogue agents are particularly needed unless you're going for like a triple affiliation roster. Or a quadruple, which I think we have one. But yeah, he's in there. Thanos, meta. 9-point Thanos is one of the meta things right now. There's a lot of podcast talk about him. I personally don't buy into it. I don't think it's that good. But I'm told it's decent. I just don't think his attacks stand up to that amount of threat that you're putting into him. But the fact that you can put Infinity Stones on them and use them for free, I'm a big fan of that Mind Stone. I think it is the one that lets you reposition them S. And then, double tapping that with his Cosmic Portals, he's a really cool control piece. And the 9-threat Thanos also does that, Time Stone Reality. He also does that because he's just got an insane amount of power all the time. But I don't think he'll ever be God tier unless he can use 3 Infinity Stones. So for that, meta. Thor, sadly, the big dog, he'll just sit in viable. Thor's one of those guys that just has a game where he is literally the god of thunder and he is just wrecking face. And then he has the next game where he can't roll a pitcher to save his life. He'll just die. He gets 1 shot at 6 health, then he gets fucking 2 shot at 8 health. So for me, just viable. Asgard right now, insane. They're in the meta. Rainbow Bridge, Hive Muscle, all that. But he's not the guy doing that for him, right? It's these characters like Enchantress and Angela. They're the ones bringing in, and Loki and that. They're the ones bringing the stocks up for Asgard right now, not Thor. So for that, viable. Toad, viable, excellent 2-pointer. Really cool list of abilities that he can do. He can hand out Incinerate, which is nice. He's got a push as well, I think, on one of his attacks. He can reposition himself with a teleport. He can reactive run away after he's been hit by an attack. So, it's good. And for that, he'll sit in there. Ultron. Sorry, buddy. No good. I have never, ever been able to make him work. And I have put at least 20 games with Ultron on the table. And never once have I walked away from those 20 games and gone, Ultron kicked ass that game. Never. He's just... His Age of Ultron tactic card, insanely expensive. Like 8 power for that is nuts. It's just nuts. His attacks, they're okay. His Mystic Defense technically should be like the best in the game, but it's just, Magneto just does that same thing, but better. He's 4 threat, so he's contending with characters like Medusa, Black Panther, Enchantress, Corvus Glaive, Kingpin, Daredevil, Killmonger, Loki. He just doesn't compete in that. Valkyrie. Do you think that Loki is better with or without an Infinity Stone? I personally like him without, because I don't want to invest any more points into him. But he is really good with that Infinity Stone. You're right. 3 power returns. So you automatically have Trickster online. You can do some shenanigans, walking people around, which makes him a target, which is what you want. I think the reason a lot of people have him with the Infinity Stone right now is because Angela, Thor, Enchantress, just plus Loki, what's that, 19? It's a really good 19 3-point list that can absolutely smash with the Rainbow Bridge. He can automatically Rainbow Bridge as well. I would say he's better. Obviously, he's actually better. One, because he's gone up a threat, so he needs to be better. But I'd say he's better. If I had to put a gun to my head, he's better. You just give him more options. You don't have to worry about rolling the Mesmerize double wild to advance somebody. You can just do it. Valkyrie, for me, she's sitting up here. So, for me, for a character to sit up here, you've either got to do one thing insanely well, lockjaw, broken. Or you've just got to be so consistent, it's just nuts, right? Okoye, super consistent, really great defense. Bodyguard, Enchantress, consistent because she doesn't have to roll an attack to take objectives off you. Corvus Glaive, blanks in success in attack with a free medium advance with a Reality Stone. Just insane amounts of consistency. Shuri, awesome. MODOK, awesome. Valkyrie, right? If you go down the tick boxes, she has a throw, so she can reposition. She has a attack with a flurry on it, so awesome. She has a charge, so she can move and attack. And she has a dice modification ability that doesn't even require rerolls, so that's good. It's just if you roll this happens. And it's cheap. And she has 2 power return that she gets because she's an Asgardian. And, number 6, all of her abilities cost 2 power. So turn 1, she can move, throw you off an objective. She's nuts. She's God tier. I don't think there's a reason that she was in 100 of 150 lists. She's nuts. Venom, viable. I think Daredevil has picked him. Daredevil is doing Venom's slot in Web Warriors, but Venom is still a character that I see across the board from me, and he makes me nervous with his so many snacks. I think that's his counterattack. Can make me really nervous when you see a really good Venom player, which I have in my local play area. You can really get some work done into him. The 2 energy defense, I don't think we'll ever see him pass viable, because we are starting to see more and more energy attacks featuring in these top 2 categories, and while we're still featuring more and more energy attacks up here, his stocks go down because he's no good against energy. So yeah, for that he goes down. Vision, Meta, top 5 4-point characters, awesome beam attack. He has a throw. He's very tanky. With his enhanced density, or the other one, his dense side or his phase side, very tanky. Awesome big attack where you don't get to count crits as successful, so you can really take the numbers out of the game when you don't let somebody overload their defense. Really great option in any 4-point 4 threat slot. He's excellent on citizens because he can just gain 5 power a turn. You know, because his gain power has no limit on it. Just if you have an action, you can gain 2 power. Yeah, he sits up there easy. Wasp, she'll sit inviolable just because she's a drop-off candidate for She-Hulk. And on paper, if you look at Wasp and Ant-Man together, Wasp looks better. She has to throw, you know, she's got a few things going for her. But Ant-Man in that Criminal Syndicate just keeps him, I think, in my eyes, above Wasp. But now that she's an A-Force affiliation, they're probably about equal. But yeah, she's great. I think some of her attacks stop you from gaining power from the attack, that's pretty cool. There's not many characters that can do that. So she sits inviolable. Winter Soldier, no bueno in the D category. It's just not good, right? There's just everyone in these lists above do what he does better. His rogue agent, you know, is done better by Taskmaster, and that was the biggest thing going for him. I can't really say anything about that, but yeah, he just no good. Wolverine, if you ask Travis, sits down here. I actually think he's viable. I'll be a cop out there, but I wasn't on that podcast, so you can't hold a gun to my head for it. I love his big attack where you can reposition first to set up the kick. So you can really set up to kick people into, you know, instead of having to kick away and kick them into nothing, you can teleport and kick them into their own character. So super cool. I don't think he'll ever be more than viable because his flip side stops him from interacting with objectives. So anytime that happens, you go down in stocks for me because you're taking away consistency from my list. So he will sit in viable for me. And he also has that tactic card that is essentially Odin's Blessing. So stocks go up, but not up enough to put him as meta. Wong. I actually don't think Wong's good. I like his heal, and I like his ability to dish out power, and I like that you can also just remove a condition from somebody. But there is times, as every Wong player will contest, where you just need him to do 1 or 2 damage. He's your last guy left to activate. You just need him to do something. And he just can't, right? He just doesn't have good attacks. I think it's a 4 dice strike that can gain power. Yeah, blah, 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 whatever. At least Lockjaw's gives out a bleed, right? Wong, no bueno, not good. I don't fancy seeing him any higher than he might go into viable if defenders get more and more popular. Like more popular than they already are. He can slot up one, but till that time. Last but not least, Zemo. Viable. Awesome. He's got the charge. If he had a throw or something along those lines, he'd be meta. Excellent 3-pointer. Really easy to use on his rerolls. That Master Swordsman means he can spike damage massively, right? He can really just put down some serious hurt. Long mover, so that's a massive tick. He is so close to meta. He sits here. He is so close to meta. He's decently tanky. He's pretty average in his tankiness, but his Master Swordsman definitely puts his numbers up for physical. That's where I'd sit him. So now's your time, guys. I'll forever hold your peace. Tune in. Tell me if you think that there's a character that you think's in a spot that they could go up or down from. This is my tier list. This is not Strike Better. This is Von. This is me. Me as a streamer, me as a content creator. I've been a gamer for like all my life. I grew up Doom Nights, X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, those kinds of things. So I've been playing games for a very long time. I can recognize when things are very powerful. I can see where the combos are. I play games for a living now as a part-time job. I do my full-time job and do my stream on the side. So I've got some good qualifications when it comes to this, and this is where I would sit everything. Tune in, guys. Let me know what you think. Does Angela being in Guardians make Star-Lord and Rocket more viable? No, I don't think so, because if having played Angela in Guardians this season, Angela is doing it all. Rocket and Star-Lord they're okay, but they're just not that great. And Angela in Asgard is just super, super, super meta. because of Rainbow Bridge and Hide Muscle, right? Like I said, if I do this again, I'll be changing the name of this. God tier meta viable niche, not good. Or I think let me scroll up. I think Raptor Nest put in one that was also another good option to change things. Let me just see if I can scroll up and find it. Where did you put that? Raptor? I can't find it. Somewhere in the chat. Somewhere, scroll up in the chat, you'll see it. You know, you can put something here that says not good except, or like viable with one tactic card, right? Agent Widow, perfect example. Viable with Doomed Prophecy and all you've got. You know, it's like, how many attack dice is that in a turn? It's like 16 per attack. It's just mental, right? But without that, she's no good. So you can change not good down to here and then put viable with a tactic card, because then Groot and Rocket can sit there. Iron Man can sit there. Ronan can sit there. That could also put characters like Marvel down in this category, right? She's just not good. Nebula, not good. Wong, not good. Gamora, not good. Yeah, so next time I do this, I'll just put niche there, and then I'll put not good. And niche is, I'll explain at the start, niche is good with tactic cards or good with another character. So, yeah. You're just agreeing with me with the niche thing. Okay, cool. I thought for some reason you said you could put one between meta and viable, but I think it's just, yeah. So everyone's on the same page as me. So God tier for me is like they do it all. These are the best 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They're the best 9 characters in the game. Meta means that they're, whatever's going for them right now is really strong. They should feature in your roster. If you're trying to build a good competitive roster, you should be looking at these two categories up here and building the best you can out of that. Viable means that you can absolutely win games with them, and you can win a tournament with these characters. Okay, these characters will still let you win tournaments. You can win a world championship with these characters, if you build it correctly and you're taking them for a very specific reason, and it has to be good. Not good means if I see this on the table, odds are that they will get killed at will. You know, these characters here just aren't good. And these ones here, there's a reason you never see them on the table. Bullseye, Winter Soldier, Ultron. They're just terrible. Early design for these two. He was a late design. I don't know anything about him from the comics, so he could be very thematic for all I know. But yeah, I don't think he's that great. Yeah, guys, might end this up here. I'm going to save this. I'll put it up on my YouTube channel, which I'll link on all the things I linked. So if you want to rewatch it or you want to screenshot this so you have a quick reference guide, feel free to do that. I don't own any of the rights to any of this, so you know, use and abuse this as you will. Yeah, peace out, guys. I'll be back later on with some Call of Duty and Subnautica, and I think maybe that new game Valheim, that new Viking survival game, looks pretty cool. So I'll probably be playing that on stream tonight, which is in about 5 hours if you guys are still up, if you're in the States or whatever, or in Europe. If you're in Oz, I'll see you tonight. Take care, guys. Peace out. No worries, Raptor. Just saw your comment. I tried to, sorry, just to keep going on, I tried to really voice why I put every character where they are, because I know that everyone's going to have a different opinion. You know, some people might say Hulk is the worst character in the game, and they'll have him down here, but I've voiced why I think these characters should be in the slots they are. So hopefully it's enough to either convince people or whatever. See you guys. Take care.